Welcome to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, founder of the Reiki Business Collective and creator of the Build Your Reiki Business program, sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Greetings, welcome, and thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing, and I am grateful to have you here for another episode. So thank you so very much. This week, we're talking about running ads. Running ads for your Reiki business. Now, the first thing that I want to say about running ads for your Reiki business is don't. Now, let me explain what I mean by this and why this is my first piece of encouragement for running ads. When we are a brand new Reiki business owner or newer on our Reiki business journey, our first impulse is to start running ads because this is what businesses do, right? You know, they open up a business and they start running ads on TV or ads in the newspaper or ads on social media. Google ads or YouTube ads or boosting Facebook posts. We see advertisements all of the time. As a matter of fact, I forget the numbers and the statistics, but we see like thousands of ads. I don't think it's quite in a day, but it's pretty darn near close. We see a lot of ads. We hear a lot of ads. We are inundated with advertisements. And so, of course, we would naturally think, well, businesses advertise. That's what they do. They pay for advertising space. And so when we start our Reiki business, we may immediately think, well, that's what I've got to do. I've got to get the word out about my Reiki business, so I have to run ads, to pay for ads. So I should mention that when I say running ads in our Reiki business, I mean specifically paying for advertising space, whether that is on television. I don't know, you might advertise on TV with your Reiki business, newspapers, magazines, periodicals, website advertisements, so something like paying for a banner ad, a radio ad, a podcast spot, boosting posts on social media, paying for advertising space on social media. So when I say running ads, I mean specifically paying for an advertisement on whatever platform we might purchase it. So when we're a brand new Reiki business owner, oftentimes our impulse is to do just that because we see advertisements all of the time. Businesses are always running advertisements. And so because we now have a Reiki business, oftentimes we think, oh, I've got to run ads too to get the word out. But the problem with that is that so often when we are new or even newer in our Reiki business, and when I say newer, I mean in the first couple of years, so often our business vision is not yet solidified, our audience is not yet solidified, our message is still very nebulous and amorphous. What this means is that when we're newer in our Reiki business and we attempt to run ads, our message isn't clear. We don't have a defined audience. We aren't quite sure on what our mission or vision is for our Reiki business. And this means that our ad spend, the money that we spend on advertisements, is so often ineffective and so often a waste of money. when we start a brand new Reiki business and we spend money on advertisements, we might as well just throw the money away. Well, as a matter of fact, rather than throwing it away, setting it on fire, send it to me. But when we're new and we are attempting to write advertisements and create advertisements, they are often, so often, many more times than not, ineffective because we don't have all of the important things in place that create effective advertisements, being the messaging, the audience, the direction, and what it is we really want people to be doing from that advertisement. The first time I ran an ad, I paid for an ad for my Reiki business, was years ago. It was on Facebook, and Facebook makes it so easy to advertise. Now, this was in the want to boost this post days. So now Facebook makes it even easier to run an advertisement where they say to you, want to boost this post? And so my first ad on Facebook was before those days. And I decided I was going to advertise my choose one of 3 monthly video. So I've been doing these choose one of 3 readings for years, and I thought, well, let me just see how it goes. It was an experiment, and I will say that all advertising is, on some level, an experiment. And so it's important for us to, I believe, recognize that as we go in spending money on advertisements, to know that it is always an experiment to see what works. And so I decided to pay to advertise my choose one of 3 card reading. And I created an advertisement. It was just a regular post with the card reading. And on Facebook, you could, I don't know if you still can. It's been some time since I've run a Facebook ad. But you could choose like the exact geographic area where you wanted the ad to show up. And I don't know how I did this. I don't know what I did. I don't know how I did it. But I ended up showing my ad to a very specific area of the world in Eastern Europe. It was like some little village in like Romania or Bulgaria or somewhere. I don't even know how I did it. And I didn't realize I did this until later. Now, I only spent, I don't know, $5, $10. It was not much money at all. But all of a sudden in my business, I started getting lots of followers who were older, middle-aged and older, 50s, 60-ish years old, Bulgarian, Romanian women. And I thought I was being scammed. I was like, what is going on? Am I being scammed? It wasn't until I went back and looked at the settings in my ad that I realized what was happening is that all of these middle-aged 50-year-old women from Bulgaria, Romania had seen my ad for my choose one of 3 and started following me because of it. So, oops, big mistake with my ad. It was funny. It was a learning experience for sure. But the problem with that was that I wasn't clear about why I was advertising my choose one of 3 card reading. I wasn't clear on what I wanted from that. Oh, what did I want? I wanted more people to watch the video. Okay, but why? What was really the point of that? So my audience obviously was not clear. It was clear, even though it wasn't the audience that I thought it was. My messaging wasn't clear. And these are things that are really important in advertising. When we see advertisements, what we often don't realize is what's happening on the back end, what's happening on the deeper level with those advertisements. And that is that a lot of work is happening behind the scenes that we don't realize. So often when businesses are running ads, they have multiple versions of the same, essentially the same advertisement. They are focusing on a few key things and making changes on them. They are running them to the same or similar look-alike audiences. And tweaking a few things like maybe the headline, the call to action. And they are just very controlled. Like I mentioned with the idea of experimentation with our ads. And we know that good experiments will be run again and again and again, and tweaking different things, having different controls, and seeing what the results are. And so a good advertising campaign will have first gone through all kinds of experimentation and measuring those results. And so that first time I ran an ad, I had really no way of measuring the campaign. Sure, I could see if there were more views to my video, but I really had no way of knowing how many of those views were coming from apparently middle-aged Romanian, Bulgarian women. I did run another Facebook ad, and this was a boost. So this was a post in which that I boosted. Now, what I did was I set it up so that I could measure exactly how many responses I got from that ad. And this was an ad for a free workshop I was running. And how I did this was I set up a separate landing page specifically for this ad. So I had one landing page for the workshop where you could sign up. It was a free workshop. And then another landing page where you could sign up for the workshop that was specific to this boosted post. That way I could measure exactly how much traffic was coming from that boost. Let me tell you, not much at all. Let me tell you, because of the outcome of that boosted post, I have not done this with Facebook again and have no plans to, quote, boost any posts based upon the results. Of course, it wasn't a whole lot of money, but it was indeed ineffective and throwing money away. But the call to action, the messaging, the audience were all very clear. And so then what I could do was, because that was all being funneled to a specific page, landing page on my website, I could check the analytics for that and see how many visits the website got and how many signups came from specifically that boosted post. And the number was so small, it was a handful, and it paled in comparison to the number of signups, the number of visits that were coming through from an unboosted post that, again, I never bothered with a boosted post again on Facebook. But what I want to encourage you for your advertising, if/when you decide to pay for advertising for your Reiki business, there are a few key things that are really important. Number one, the headline for your ad. The first thing that an ad viewer is going to see, that your audience is going to see, is the headline. And with the headline, you want it to be clear. You want there to be a hook, in a sense, where people are able to say, ooh, that draws me in. Oh, that's of interest. Or indeed, oh, that's me. And so knowing who your audience is for your advertisement is really the most important thing, because that's going to allow you to craft a clear call out for the audience to be able to say, oh, that's me. Oh, this pertains to me. Oh, I'm going to want to pay attention to this. So let's say that your audience is people who are diabetic, people who experience diabetes, and you're using Reiki for diabetes. Your headline is going to want to capture their interest and to call out their challenges with diabetes, to call out that audience member for them to be able to say, yes, that's me. This pertains to me, and I'm going to want to pay attention to that. So you want the ad to have clarity, you want it to engage them, and you want it to be relevant to your audience, and to also have a clear call to action, what it is you want them to do, whether it's to sign up for a workshop, purchase your product, book a session. Whatever it is you might be that you want the action for them to take, you want it to be clear. So that is really important for your ad. And so often in our Reiki business, like I mentioned, we don't have that clarity for the first couple of years of our Reiki business. So I encourage getting that clarity first before spending on advertising. Now, I also recommend having a way of measuring the effectiveness. So I've done this with other advertisements as well, including with the Reiki Business Summit, where I will have specific landing pages for the advertisement in order to measure how many visits the advertisement gets and how effective it is. So you can do this too in a couple of ways. You can, like me, set up specific landing pages on your website that are not public pages, that are specific only to that advertisement. And so you can use your website analytics, Google Analytics, other methods of seeing exactly how many visits you are getting from that specific advertisement. You can even further tailor these specific websites to your audience. So not just have a tweaked and specific ad, but also a tailored and specific landing page or website that specific audience is going to, that is further tailored to them. You can also use specific coupon codes that correspond with the advertisement that help you to see whether or not your ad has been effective. And so the key things with spending money for advertisements in our Reiki business is knowing your audience. Who are you addressing with this advertisement? Knowing where your audience is and where to find them. And so if your audience does not watch TV, then it might not be a good idea to spend an ad for a TV commercial for your Reiki business. However, if your audience is tuning into a particular YouTube show, then it might be a good idea to spend for advertising specifically on that show. So knowing who your audience is, where they show up, how to tailor the message to them in specific, addressing their needs and wants is very important in an ad. And again, we can't often don't know that at the beginning of our Reiki business journey, which is why so often when we pay for advertisements in the beginning of our Reiki business, it's just like setting the money on fire or flushing it down the toilet. So it's important to make sure that we have clarity before we start spending money on advertising. It's also important that we can measure the success of our advertisements and the effectiveness. For instance, I've had results from advertising that have shown me, don't do that again. Like it was not effective, and it was not nearly as effective as I expected it to be, with the clear call to action, the tailored message, the specificity. With all of that, we can have all of the things that we believe are right in an advertising campaign, and it doesn't end up doing as well as we expected. Remember, it's an experiment. So that means we could still have all of the things that we think are in place: the audience, the messaging, the clarity, the clear call to action, the tailored landing page and ads and everything. And it can still not work in the way that we expect it to, and it can still fall quite short of our expectations for the ad. That's part of the process and part of the experience. And so there's a part of us that really needs to let go of the expectations and be willing to spend money knowing that it might not work out. How much we want to spend on something potentially not working out is up to us in our Reiki business. But when we approach it with that attitude of it is a learning experience, I think that helps us to let go of the outcome and to view it as something that we're going to learn from. I know I've definitely learned from running ads in my Reiki business, and where there are places I might want to spend more on advertising and spend no more. But definitely that element of measuring the success and effectiveness is essential. What so many Reiki business owners do, particularly new Reiki business owners, is that they'll pay for an advertisement and they'll have no idea how effective it is. They have no way of measuring that effectiveness. So things like specific landing pages on our website that we measure the traffic for, or using specific coupon codes that correspond to specific advertisements, are going to help us measure whether or not the ad has been effective. If we find that an ad is ineffective, then we know we need to change some things. Maybe it's the messaging, maybe it's the platform, maybe it's the offer. It could be a whole bunch of things, and we can change and tweak certain things, or we can decide not to run that specific campaign again. But being able to measure the effectiveness is really essential in our ad campaigns. And so I encourage considering not running full-fledged ad campaigns in our Reiki business unless or until we can really measure the effectiveness of those campaigns and know the results that we are getting from them. So those are a few things to consider with running ads for your Reiki business. Yes, indeed, you don't have to run ads. You can indeed have a thriving Reiki business from your organic marketing. Organic, by the way, is just unpaid. So organic marketing, you'll hear people talk about organic marketing. That's just unpaid marketing versus paid ad spend, the paying of advertisements, the paying for advertisements. So there's a lot to say about running ads in our Reiki business. You don't need to spend money on advertising for a thriving Reiki business. Oftentimes, some of the most effective advertising is organic advertising, organic reach. But indeed, we can have very effective ad campaigns. But the important things are that we have that clarity and we have the way of measuring its impact. So, of course, whether you run advertisements, whether you pay for advertisements in your Reiki business or not, I'm sending so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business advertising journey. And of course, as always, you are welcome to get that free Reiki Biz Kit at standingstoneshealing.com/Reiki Biz Kit with lots of encouragement on getting the word out about your Reiki business. Do you pay for ads in your Reiki business? Are you using Google ads, YouTube ads, TV ads, radio spots, newspaper ads, magazine ads? What are you doing in your Reiki business? Join us in the Reiki Business Collective and tell us all about it at facebook.com/groups/Reiki Biz. Sending so many blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business. Thanks for tuning in to the Build Your Reiki Business podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and send to a friend. Learn more about the Build Your Reiki Business program at standingstoneshealing.com/build. Sending blessings and best wishes to your Reiki business.